Today we're finally going over my favorite things from last year. These right here are my 2018 favorites. And we have to give a huge thank you to Squarespace for making this video possible. If you're interested in building a website, hit the link down below for 10% off. What's up guys, it's Avery. Hope you're all doing well out there and the new year is off to a good start. It is finally time for me to sit down and go over my favorite clothing, books, movies, and music from the year of 2018, which is already about 2 weeks ago. So excuse me if my allergies are acting up, but I'm so eager to make this video. And of course, the best way to always start off is with the clothing. We're gonna start with tops and work our way down. This is for sure my favorite sweater of last year, but just one of my favorite items, plain and simple. This is of course that Yohji Yamamoto cardigan. Look at that ray of light coming down on it. And this is just a nicely knit cardigan, but then warped and stretched. And as I said before, disease-ridden. Equal parts beautifully made, full of attitude, and also super, super versatile. I definitely need to include this in the list because I feel like moving forward, I can still see so many better ways of styling it with more shirts and more layers. So hopefully that'll be the case in the future because it has that crazy back structure that's almost formal. We'll have to see how much it pops up in the future. This, of course, is that Veronique Branchino piece that, although it has this terrible, terrible dry rot from me buying it new, being an old jacket, it, if anything, enhances the jacket, although it does make me a bit weary to wear. Since filming that video, I have found out this is potentially an 06-07 item, not from one of her first or third collections, which I thought based off the seller and my conversation with him. But I still have the tags here just because I haven't worn it in a while. This is a classic moto jacket, classic racing jacket with a beautiful shape, short torso, elongated arms. I would like even maybe a bit more exaggerated to fit my body shape. But of course, just blacked out. The patches are logoless. It's in this beautiful black canvas rather than a leather. And for the price, this is a gorgeous, gorgeous item. I just need this shape. And the aggressive nature that a moto jacket is not falling apart. So hopefully that will come soon, but this is super, super exciting nonetheless. Final top, of course, is this Carole Christian Poel number. This is a double-breasted shirt or jacket, as a lot of people ask about it, that has this insane cotton with some sort of treatment that, if you could say it's similar to anything, would be waxed cotton. Just a lot less tacky than that, because waxed cotton can often just have an over-the-top shine that's right in your face. This has a structure, it has the weight of a heavy, rigid denim, but it is just cotton shirting treated with something. Every seam is just a little fold under, but it's so beautifully made, and I want to say this is from 2006 or so. I need to double check. But regardless, being 10 or so years old and still feeling like this could last more than a lifetime. Last more than a lifetime is so beautiful. But with this double-breasted open, these fanged collars, you just get Bellboy from Hell, Culinary, Dracula, something like that. And this color too is so unbelievable. Packs a punch, but is still really down to earth. So that's super cool there. The next section, let's do a little pant work. I have to give a huge shout out to these two. These are my 505s, which I accidentally purchased earlier in the year when I just wanted a pair of 501s. And given the rich history of the 505 and how much I ended up wearing them, and ended up with two different colors that has this lighter gray as well as a black that has been super washed out over the years, had to include it in this video. Really great fit there. Next up, air cuts, of course. This is a dark shadow item, but the pattern complexity and the fabric doesn't reflect that. Although diffusion lines, I think, aren't a bad thing at all. This is for sure a discussion for another video, but a lot of people, like, they talk down on MM6, the 100 lines under CDG, but when it's done with merit, it usually makes sense and allows, you know, that's way too much. These are a beautiful, beautiful pant that has this heavy, almost Kevlar-like bulletproof material on the outside that just gets prettier and prettier as the days go by. It pretty much used to be a truer white, and now it is getting so tarnished and beautiful. And of course, I like these because they remind me of some of my favorite spacesuits, but I think I've talked about that enough with you guys in the past. The other pair of pants that I want to include just as something I've made, because it's been one of my favorite things that I've made this year, would be these pants. Unfortunately, I can't try them on because my final sample in my size is at the factory. But of course, I'll have Kaylee try this size on. This is just a pair of pants, the pair of pants that I've wanted for so long. Straight-legged, it has a triple stitch on the outside to this lightweight cotton that gives it almost a bunching effect. And this cotton was a really exciting find as well because it's dead stock, milled in Japan, that we found in the United States. Dead stock fabric is just surplus fabric from other industrial uses where it's usually just surplus and to be thrown away. So it's great to put it to use, and it has the best spring weight that has just enough structure, but it feels like you're wearing nothing out there on the plains. This is our take at a traditional work pant from way back when, with a patch on the back. The buttons are made of nuts, and it's just a comfortable, durable pant with that nice button analog opening. A little too excited about those. Then of course, wrapping it up with accessories and footwear, this necklace quickly became my everyday necklace, just with a great length and being beautifully made. This is by Werkstatt München. It has a star that's sort of fixed in place, which gives it almost a ritualistic look to it, especially if it had a little more symmetry. And the pendant, although it is a Jim Dunlop USA guitar pick, this necklace is made in the most charming silversmith workshop in Munich. So definitely look more into them because they're a super interesting brand. And then finally, making a new ring. We had that family ring from our first collection, but working with our new jewelry manufacturer in Los Angeles has been a dream. We've been so much more flexible to experiment with stuff like oxidation and engraving everywhere in between, and it's just a really nice change of pace. So I don't want to show that one off too much. You guys will have to wait and see. But the shoe, of course, of the year, that's a little bit of a stretch, but just my favorite shoe, or in this case, boot that I picked up last year, is this Rick Owens platform lace-up boot from Glitter. And of course, it has that quote-unquote Lego sole with the beautiful muted orange and blue down here in those crazy layers. Even the silhouette of the boot on top has such a great shape, but then to blow it out of the water with this lacing shape and the platform sole, but still be so wearable and so attractive, killer. And this is something that I wear with my baggier silhouettes, which is really fun, and looking forward to the future again. I guess it inspires me to play with different pants in the future. Let's talk about some books right here. I just split it up in different sections, like fiction, nonfiction, little coffee table book, if you care to say that. But let's start off with this top guy, which was my favorite fiction book that I read last year. I don't think, looking back, I read any books that actually released in 2018. A little unfortunate. But this right here is Franz Kafka's The Castle. I grabbed this in London for £5 new, and it's supposed to be one of the newer translations. But this is the story of a land surveyor, I should say an unfinished story of a land surveyor going to a new castle that requested his services, and as soon as he gets there, they don't want his service. And it's his quest to access the castle, the inaccessible castle. And the further he pushes, the further away the castle gets. The whole story is a fever dream. It's very realistic, but a thick fog around everything. Everything is just slightly out of place, but you can't quite put your thumb on it. And each time Kay, the land surveyor, pushes towards the castle, he gets thrown down another rabbit hole because Kay is so strong-headed and set in his ways, and it portrays him as a smart, intelligent man, but he's such an outsider, he's such an alien to this village that he'll never quite understand. And that's what it really boils down to, a story of an outsider. So love that one. Definitely gonna give it another read. And Kafka is also just an insanely interesting author. For nonfiction, this was a really exciting pickup. This is the illustrated version of Just Kids. Also a signed copy, such a pure signature. I know she signed hundreds and hundreds of copies at different bookstores around the city, so I actually got this as a gift for Kaylee. Sharing my own gifts on my channel, but this feels great. It's awesome to have all of the illustrations along with the text here. And the book itself is, of course, Patti Smith and Robert Mapplethorpe's journey in New York City as artists. Paints an amazing picture of New York at the time and the artist scene in the city. Definitely recommend if you're interested in that sort of stuff. And if you aren't, I'd still recommend because it is such a pure book. The only downside is I feel like I've seen most of these photos before, but it is really nice having it alongside the text, and it's beautifully laid out too. So that's a plus. Totally recommend this, or go for the cheaper version because it still has pictures in it, just not quite as many. And then I have to give a shout out to the book that Kaylee and I made, which is just a recap memento for Kaylee and I for the whole behind the scenes process of developing our first collection late last year. It has, of course, all of the campaign images in it, but also it is everything from sketches to hilarious conversations with our manufacturer to tech packs and those sort of things, all laid out with the official campaign images. So I'm really excited to look back on this in the future. We still do. And it came together beautifully with this fabric cover and the debossed logo on the side. So thank you guys also if you picked this up. It's still available on the web store, but thank you for supporting our next collection. And this was an awesome experience. In the future, if anything, I would just like to add more text to this. So there's some writing and some real annotation alongside this. But at the time, when in school, there wasn't enough time to do that. Finally, the big guy, the coffee table photo textbook, whatever you want to say. This is not an Einstürzende Neubauten book. This is an A.F. van der Vorst book consolidating 20 years of their work from runway shows to campaigns. There's writing alongside it. Awesome stuff. But besides this being a killer book, it's also a great souvenir for Kaylee and I. Really cute note by Philip and Anne, and Philip Eriks and Anne van der Vorst, who are the awesome design duo behind A.F. van der Vorst. They had a super intimate panel at the Rizzoli store when this book released, because although I'm disappointed in New Yorkers for not showing up, it also made for a closer knit discussion, and we got to meet them, and they were so sweet and down to earth. But on top of that, this is a great book, so completely recommend it. And those are my books from last year. Okay, let's talk about a few movies. Of course, I didn't see nearly as many as I would have liked, as always. But the few that I did see were excellent, so I definitely want to suggest them your way. I think the first one that I saw that really stuck with me was Annihilation. Annihilation, I may have even talked about it on this channel before. It's a sci-fi psychological thriller, and although it is a little messy at some points, but also who am I to say, the idea of this alien shimmer that is expanding and toying with duplication and mutation, and also just putting, thank God, an alien that is not a human, an alien that has desires behind what humans have as desires, is always a plus for me. So definitely recommend it. And it had a very interesting but weird release where it was on Netflix within the first 2 months. So it's easily accessible. It's probably still up there for you guys if you're interested. Another Netflix movie that was spectacular was Roma. This released near the end of the year, and this one I totally wish would have had a more theatrical release. You can still probably see it in theaters. I know there were showings both in New York and New Mexico where I visited recently. So if you want to, totally recommend going to see it in theaters. This is the slice of life movie. It's the story of a maid in upper class Mexico City. Maybe the correct term is housekeeper. The housekeeper in upper class Mexico City and her journey as an individual alongside the turmoil of this family and how it's so intertwined and eventually comes to an intense, emotional, heart-wrenching, but also heartwarming in some way climax. So of course I don't want to spoil that for you. And of course, beautiful, beautiful movie with these insane long shots, shot in black and white. Gorgeous stuff. The next movie, although it had a similar pacing to Roma, wow, that is such a bad description. It was slow building, but boozy, and like The Castle, just intense fog. Mandy. Mandy is, of course, a trip, a wild ride. Nicolas Cage stars in it, and this surprisingly really tugged at my heart, but also I don't think it took itself too seriously. There were very ridiculous sequences. It also, I felt like, didn't rely too much on violence, although there were some elongated fighting portions. A lot of the story isn't about that. Also, the score itself is enough to justify giving this movie a watch, so definitely recommend that as well. And then I also want to give an honorable mention to McQueen. Releasing last year, this is the documentary on Alexander Lee McQueen. And although that's obvious, I want to clarify it because there is, of course, the documentary McQueen and I, which is more or less the story of Alexander and Isabella Blow and their relationship through his journey as a fashion designer. So although that is a pivotal role in this new documentary, it's not the whole thing, and it really is a focus on Alexander Lee McQueen, which is killer. And maybe there wasn't that much new information in it, but it definitely still gets my stamp of approval, however much that means. But those are a few movies from last year that I enjoyed. And finally, you guys know how we like to end off these favorite videos. I'm gonna play you 10 or so songs. I have no idea which ones yet that I was listening to in 2018. I have a Rate Your Music list that are my top 90 albums, as well as a Spotify playlist which plays one track from each project that gives you a good snapshot, the artist or the project. So head to those links in the description if you are interested in, and that's how we're gonna end it. Thank you guys for tuning in, and also another thank you to Squarespace. If you guys are interested in building a blog, a web store, a portfolio, putting that online, hit up Squarespace via the link in the description. You'll get 10% off, which is awesome. And that's where I host my blog. So if you guys are interested in some inspiration, you'll also find that down below, hosted on Squarespace. But that is it. Enjoy these tracks, and I'm interested to hear your guys' recommendations. I want movies, I want music, all of that good stuff. That's it. Hope you guys have a good 2019, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.
A cell of forming a businessman's handshake. It's waiting on and needs blood to metastasize. Come out of the cold, cold follows the wind. I've been waiting for an hour now.
Main line, underneath the skin of the grapevine. Save time, serpent, no need to hiss. Found a reason to live, doubt could be an abyss.